The new girl didn't seem to be bothered by the ill-mannered comments of your peers, the judgmental sidelong glances. She just rolled her eyes. You admired it in a way, her abnormally thick skin. You would have definitely cried if the new Okiya you'd found yourself in hated everything about your features. You wouldn't say she was ugly, per se. Just more masculine looking? And that haircut of hers was particularly ornery. Granted, you'd seen girls that liked to cut their hair with swords the old-fashioned way. But this one looked like she went and hacked at it with reckless abandon. And in every direction. Her stumpy pigtails only held about 40% of her yellow locks. And good gracious, those thick, unruly eyebrows! You could surely pluck at them for days and get nowhere. You certainly had your work cut out for you, to say the least. May I? You were now squared off with the girl, politely extending a hand with the best welcoming smile you could muster. She blinked and nodded, gently slipping a hand into yours. You tried not to make a face. You didn't even have to look to know how calloused they were. You could feel the roughness of her palm when it brushed against your fingertips. Emery board in your free hand, you began to file away the jagged edges of her, either short or broken, nails, pausing briefly to wonder if she had been a field hand in the past. Poor thing. Working on the new girl? A voice from the doorway called out, and you noticed two of your fellow trainees standing there. Mm-hmm. You nodded and returned to your task. What's the point? She's obviously hopeless, the one with the longer hair said. Yeah, she's never going to get a patron looking like that. You two are breaking my concentration, you replied flatly. If you don't stop, I'll have to explain to Wabara Hime why our newest escort is late to dance practice. Or would you rather do it? You punctuated with a rather threatening glance. That shut them up fast, and they were out of your sight before you could even locate your makeup brush on the vanity. You caught the blonde watching you with those big round honey brown eyes, which was easily her most alluring feature, especially when enhanced by the amber color of her triangle-patterned kimono. Oh, don't pay any attention to them. They're just jealous. You shrugged with an encouraging smile. Of what? You instantly froze at her question, as you had not actually contemplated any sort of follow-up. You were simply placating. Of how good you are at the shamisen. The madam didn't even have to teach you. Phew, that was a close one. Music has always come fairly easily to me. Sounds like you're a bag of surprises. What else are you good at? Not much. Her eyes flickered down again and you mentally kicked yourself. You were trying to be optimistic, but had inadvertently killed the mood once more. I've been told before I'm good at making flower crowns. But in most other things, I am and have always been a coward. Well, that's not really a problem now, is it? Just smile and look pretty and leave the war and bravery to the men. You smiled wide and her bushy brows furrowed. Right. The men. If her crestfallen expression was any indication, apparently you totally said the wrong thing once more. But then again, it was hard to raise a new trainee's spirits in the first week or so. Being sold off like livestock tends to leave a bad taste in one's mouth. Any way one tries to perceive such a circumstance, optimistic or otherwise. It was never any lady's choice to be here. Oh, how rude of me! We weren't formally introduced when the maidservant dropped you off. My name's Traveler. Oh, I'm Zenitsu. Zenko! Her voice shot up higher and she reached out to shake your hand. Ah, see? That was a perfect handshake. If you were a man of high class. Let's try again. But this time I'll play the man's part. You reached back and extended your arm once more, palm facing upwards. Your hand should be on top, fingers lightly curled in. Like this. A girl is touching my hands! She's so gentle I could cry. Zenitsu swallowed down his jitters and nodded in understanding. Never grip too firmly, and step into their space, because sometimes they might kiss it.
Kiss it?
Yes. Generally, when you greet a patron, you won't need to offer your hand. A bow is often sufficient. But some men are bolder than others, as I'm sure you've observed. I heard the man that dropped you off was quite the brazen type.
You can say that again.
The glower that crossed her features was severe, as was the drop in her voice. You stumbled to correct yourself. Oh, forgive me. It was impolite of me to bring that up. The pain is still too near for you, I'm sure.
It's fine.
She waved you off with an oddly aloof gesture. At least let me give you something to make up for it.
That's really not necessary,
she objected, but you were already enthusiastically shoving a small glass bottle towards her. It's Utermine. I was given it as a gift from a wealthy foreign diplomat who came to visit our district a few months ago.
Oh, no, I couldn't possibly.
Use it on your hands. And don't let the girls bully you into doing chores for them just because you're new. It's unladylike to do too much work with your hands.
Oh, sorry.
She looked away in embarrassment, as if abruptly realizing the reason for your generosity. Oh no, I didn't mean it like that. I was just telling you so you wouldn't get scolded for it later. You took her hands in yours, trying not to grimace in pity when you noticed how they dwarfed your own. But rest easy. This works wonders. Someone told me even the most calloused hands soften over time. Don't you worry one bit. Finally, you earned a warm smile from her.
Thank you. You're the first person who's been nice to me since I got here. Up till now, I've received nothing but harsh criticism on my appearance.
They're foolish, I think. You chirped with an optimistic grin. It was genuine this time. You're quite lucky.
Lucky?
Your hair color is exotic. Nothing like the rest of us. You're sure to draw the eyes of patrons no matter what the other girls say.
You think so?
A bit of hope seemed to flicker behind her lashes once again, and you were pleased to see your verbal footwork finally finding a path to progress. A dip into the light pink blush, and your brush was sweeping gently over her pale cheeks. Absolutely. Most men fantasize about foreign beauties. Play up an accent and you found your trump card, my dear. Her yellow copper eyes blazed with vitality at your words, and she gripped her fist close to her chest, interrupting your makeup application.
She was a squirmy one.
You're right! I'll turn more heads than any Oiron in the Hanamachi! It was now that you noticed that she was definitely more physically appealing when she smiled. It was a contagious and genuine type of smile, and you knew immediately you wanted to be friends with this girl. That's the spirit! You beamed right back at her, continuing your work once more. I could tell by the way you played at the skills demonstration that you had a lot of determination.
I did well on the music test, she admitted. But the teacher kept making mean comments about my looks all throughout the performance.
Your new companion looked more irritated than hurt, a fact that struck you as odd in some way. Not to mention you had to wonder how she was even able to hear the slander over her passionate rendition. First impressions don't always go the way we want, I'm afraid, you replied sympathetically. But look at it this way. At least you don't have a giant scar on your forehead.
What?
You blinked at her sudden outburst. Yeah. Apparently a handsome man sold a girl to the Tokudo house, but she had a really bad scar on her face that she was hiding under her makeup. The madam was furious and disciplined her for being so deceptive. Or so I overheard the other Maikos talking. Her inexplicable panicked expression settled into a more pensive one, and she paused.
What other rumors have you heard?
The blonde's voice dropped to a more serious tone, and you began to backtrack. Forgive me. I didn't mean to be a gossip. Am I to assume you knew one of the girls who went missing recently?
No!
She waved her hands frantically.
I was just curious. Honest.
Oh. You sighed in relief before flashing a crooked, apologetic smile. Good. I'm not always the best at expressing myself properly. I guess all I was really trying to say is, You definitely could have wound up in a worse okiya. It's nice here. Most of the time. Or at least it was until recently. All you have to do is stay off Obarahime's bad side and you'll be fine. With a flourished clack, you snapped the pallet box closed and put down the brush, satisfied with your work. You placed your hands on her shoulders and coaxed her gaze up to meet yours. Try to cheer up. Things will get better. Or at least easier.
She's trying to comfort me,
Zenitsu thought. In spite of all the preconceived notions he had before arriving, and all the troublesome things he was warned about before donning his temporary facade, he was actually receiving kindness here. A boon he was grateful for whilst treading this unfamiliar and dangerous territory. As restitution, Zenitsu silently vowed to himself that he would protect you. You and all the other innocent girls at this estate. He would find the missing women, before it was too late. Exactly how, he was unsure. But then, he wouldn't be given the opportunity to ponder the query further, for you spoke up, lurching him out of his thoughts. Well, we've got to get going now. But we can talk more later if you like. You suggested, and Zenitsu found himself nodding eagerly without hesitation. Are you ready for your first dance practice?
The young man felt his nerves surface once more. What kind of dance?